Countdown.
Hello everyone, this is Reg from Microgrinder, and for this 30 hour session I'm going to be being sweated by a gentleman I've just started working with recently called Morris. He currently plays 5NL, and I've asked him to join me on this video just to give me someone else to talk to and keep the chat going more than it sometimes does when I'm going solo. So here we are, Morris. Say hello to your new audience and let's get stuck in.
Hello, everyone. First time on YouTube.
Morris is a little bit nervous, so please be
little
nice.
bit.
If you make any comments, please be nice. Here straight away we have a really easy 3-bet. This guy's isolation base is too small. I don't particularly want to call and possibly go 3 or 4 ways. So it's just a really, I mean, I don't think it really needs explaining. Our hand's really strong. It's going to play a lot better in a heads-up pod than it is multi-way. But it's looking like this might end up going multi-way.
What is the slightly orange tag like?
Slightly orange is like, in my opinion, like a semi-regular. Not a particularly good player, but you know, not terrible either. So his stat 21-13. So it's like somebody who is like, you know, reasonably tight. But they've got like a biggish gap between the VPIP and the PFR, so therefore they're not really solid players. When he donks here, I mean, I don't really think we can do anything except fold. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. It's pretty self-explanatory. I very much doubt he's... Well, he could be bluffing here. He could have a semi-bluff with diamonds. But I just think it's way more likely he's going to have a hand like ace-queen or something like that. And if it was the only bet I had to call, I think we can say right call. But the chances are he's going to be betting the turn, betting the double 2. And then it doesn't become quite as attractive. Here, I think it's slightly different because it's a single raise pot. He's just donkeying into us. I'm not prepared to fold just yet. It's too likely he can have draws or just some airballs. The queen
is he not going to? Isn't he going to barrel like every turn almost?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it depends what he has. If he has a hand like maybe ace 10 or something, he might just give up when we call. He might just bet small. I think when he bets this small on the turn, I think his most likely hand is a jack. That's now a little bit scared. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to raise the turn and I'm going to shove the river if he checks. And this is designed specifically to make him fold Jack X. If he comes back over the top, I've just got the really easiest fold ever. But there you see how we'll just go over that very quickly to just say why I did that. On the flop, if we can pull the hand we put in here.
Yeah.
On the flop, he donked like full size pot.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the turn, he's not even donking half the pot. So that tells me that he doesn't like his hand anywhere near as much as he did in the flop, which means he's probably got ace high, and very best Jack X. He clearly doesn't like the queen, and he probably doesn't like he's been called. So I think he's probably being like a reasonably bad player, and then going to bet him because you don't want to check fold or check call for maybe thin value. But I did that specifically because of his sizing. Had he made a more reasonable size bet, anything upwards of around $3.50, I would not have made this play. But because I see people using these sort of weak bet size on the turn all the time, I think it's super profitable to raise the turn, shove the river. And most of the time they're going to end up having to fold a hand like Jack X. Or 2 9s, 2 10, whatever it is he's got. That isn't super strong.
You don't think he ever has a flush draw here?
Well, he might have. He may well have, and I may end up losing money. Well, I think overall against it's mainly the bet sizing I'm going after. Because the bet size has changed significantly from the flop to the turn in terms of how much of the pot it is.
And what if he had called this bet and a club would have come on the river?
Then I probably would have just given up. But I don't know. I mean, my plan was to shove the river, so I honestly don't know. I think I'd have had to see if he checks to me. I probably would carry the plan out because right now I'm thinking he's way more likely to have Jack X or some kind of pair than he is a draw.
Yeah.
Because I think he would continue betting bigger with the draw, or maybe he would do so. I don't think that's the sizing people make. Because if he's got a flush draw, he's probably going to want us to fold. I don't think he's going to use that size when he's semi bluffing very often.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I'm just thinking he's got a made hand on the flop. I think he likes a little bit less on the turn. Well, because he doesn't know what to do, he just bets, and then he gets confused. So that's kind of what I think's happened there. Which is what I will do that a lot. When people will lead into me small on the turn for like half pot or less, I will frequently raise the turn and shove the river because people are just overfolding too much. Without a question, they're overfolding rivers in these spots. So the times he calls, good luck to him. He's obviously going to stack me. But
Yeah.
I think I'm going to win a medium-sized pot way more often than we're going to get stacked. I think it's definitely a profitable play.
All right. Interesting there.
And I mean, I am a nit, as you know, I'm a nit. People who follow me on Reddit know I'm a nit. People who needle me on Reddit know I'm a nit. But that doesn't mean that I'm incapable of like not being a little bit creative post flop. Just because I'm quite nitty pre flop, it doesn't mean I can't handle post flop. And that's like a good example of that, where I will just go after things that I've seen time and again that I know indicates weakness. But I still think there's a chance my sevens could be the worst hand there. So I'd rather just turn them into a bluff because I think there is a definite chance that we can get better hands to fold.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy just to try and do that. Here, this isn't a great board for me. I have two overcards and a backdoor straight draw. It's way from a good board for me. But I'm still going to bet, and I'm going to probably double barrel against this guy because I think he's weak, and give up against this guy who I think is going to have a hand like two high cards quite a lot. They didn't want a 3-bet. So I'm hoping I'm going to get him to fold here. And I'm not too bothered what this guy does. If he raises, it's easy. If he calls, there's some turn cards that I will consider barreling. Here I'm just going to 3-bet and stack off against this guy who's got no money.
Yeah, eight is pretty strong, I think.
It's too strong against somebody with that stack size.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's got kings. I don't really care, to be honest with you. It's completely irrelevant. Yeah, we just move on.
It's just 20 big blinds.
Yeah, it's just obviously I'd rather have won. I'm not trying to be flippant, but I mean, what else am I going to do? You know, I've got somebody there with a 13 big blind stack. I've got 2 8s, and that's a kind of low hanging fruit that's going to pad our win rate most of the time. He's not always going to have kings there, so whatever. Who cares? We just move on. You know, and I think I played it fine.
Yeah. But on the king queen hand, like if I was in that spot, I probably would check behind. But you still think that just c-betting there is profitable?
Yes, I do, because this guy, the guy who's in the small blind,
Yeah.
if he had a really strong hand, he would almost certainly 3-bet me. He's a solid regular. I respect his game, and I think if he had a real hand, he would have 3-bet me. So I think when he calls, he's going to have a lot of suited connector type hands, maybe some smallish and middle pairs that he just wants to play against the other guy who's limped.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about him. I think he's going to fold a lot. And the guy who's limp called, yeah, of course he can have pairs that he's check calling with, but I can suck out on them quite a bit if he's got those pocket pairs that haven't made a set. I can suck out on them frequently enough. I can barrel him off them on some good runouts for me. Because obviously then I can barrel any jack, any king, any queen, any ace. So there's tons of good barrel cards for me. And
Yeah.
I just don't think I've got enough showdown value to go to showdown against 2 players. So I'm either just going to give up and just let somebody just walk into walk into showdown uncontested, or I can take it on board that 2 people have got relatively weak ranges and just try and get them to fold parts of that range that are beating me.
All right.
That's kind of why I bet. I mean, I'm not betting for value. It certainly is a bluff. It's a bluff to get people to fold ace high and pocket pairs that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Knowing full well that if I do get called, if I get raised, I've got the easiest fold in the history of the world. And if I get called, there's still tons of ways I can carry on being aggressive on the turn.
Yeah. So any what was it? Any jack, any ace?
Any jack, queen, king, or ace, I can barrel pretty much 100%. Because
And the 9?
they're going to improve my equity. A 9 gives me a good shot, doesn't it? But I think a 9's better for his range than my range. So a 9 I may not have continued on. Because it was something like 7-10 something, wasn't it? So I may not have continued on a 9. But yeah, any card over a 10, jack, queen, king, or ace, they're really good for my range, and they're actually good for my pot equity too. So I think it's just going to be really standard. Here I'm going to check back, and then I'm going to bet the turn and the river if he checks. So I don't know anything about this guy. He could be check calling strong range or weak range, but if he checks twice, I think it's way more likely we're going to be able to make him fold. Whereas if he bets here, we have an easy call. We have an easy fold away. Which is this is what
Yeah.
typically, I don't know him from Adam, it could be anything. But I don't just want to start c-betting zero equity hands against people like him. I'd rather see him check twice before I started c-betting zero equity hands. Because we've just got way more chance of knowing he's going to fold if he's already checked twice.
Yeah.
Here, this guy has this limp called the button. I'm just going to probably triple barrel here. Because that's a hard board for him to hit. And I'm just going to continue with my aggression. Because I just think it's a really hard board to hit. There's plenty of draws you can have that might call twice, and then we're in front of. We can even consider check calling the river. If we bet again, he just calls. We can even consider just check calling the river because you're going to have way more draws and weak hands on this board than he's going to have made hands. So now it's just a matter of, do I want to now just shove the river as a bluff? Because, I mean, it's really quite, I mean, obviously, of course, he can have a 9. I'm not saying he can't have a 9. But, I mean, what else can we do? We can consider checking and bluff catching. I don't particularly want to just fold at this point. Oh, wow, and I timed out, which is a shame, because that's exactly why I wanted to bet, and I should have clicked my time back there. Because I think that was absolutely a triple barrel spot, and he would have folded that hand nearly all of the time, and that's why we need to fire the three barrels, because people will call twice with a hand as weak as threes, but there's just not much chance that they're going to call the river. So I was going to triple barrel there, and it's just unfortunate that I timed out.
You misclicked?
No, I was just I was explaining myself, and I didn't even realise that I had no time bank.
Okay.
So never mind, that's unfortunate.
But you would have shoved the river.
Yeah, I was considering shoving the river or maybe check call. I was just trying to figure out can you have enough draws, but I thought it was way more likely he's going to just have something he's folded. So yeah, I was going to just shove the river kind of as a bluff. Well, not kind of as a bluff, absolutely as a bluff, to get him to fold those kind of hands, and also just to get him to fold his chops as well. If he's got ace high, it's nice to get him off a chop.
You think he would have folded the river?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if he calls like the flop and the turn.
Yeah, but he's called $1.80 and $3 something, or $4 something. It's a big difference between that and then calling a $19 overshove on the river.
Yeah, okay.
It's a big call, and I just don't think many people are making it, especially not with a hand as weak as 2-3s. Here I'm just going to check that because we have some decent showdown value. He's clearly never going to fold an ace. Here I am going to 3-bet again because he could be squeezing quite light, and I don't mind getting it in against this guy.
Wouldn't you consider calling to get Mike in the pot as well?
Not really. He hasn't got enough money. I'm not too bothered about that. I kind of just want to go after the regular who's gone for he's gone for a cheap ice. So again, if he'd have 4x'd it or more, it makes it more expensive for me to take the line that I took. But because it's just 3x'd it, I just don't believe people 3x very often for value. I think was it you posted a hand or somebody posted a hand the other day in our Skype group where somebody had tried to isolate 2.5x from the button. And I'm just not having that. I'm just not having that people do that with real hands. So therefore, I think usually they just try to get a really cheap isolation. They try to get a cheap isolation it's because they don't like the hand enough to actually make a real bet with it. So therefore, I'm just going to go after it again. I go after bet sizes a lot. It's a big part of what forms my decision-making processes. Here now, it's a matter of, can I go for some thin value or not? Can I get called by a hand like 2-10s? So I'm just going to bet really small and just try and get some thin value from pairs worse than what I've got, which I exactly got. I'm really pleased that works out. Here I'm just probably going to fold because I was just set mine. It's
too many people.
I might have the best hand, but it's just too likely that I'm going to have to put too much money in with a really weak pair, so I'm not fussed. I'm going to fold and we'll see what this guy called with.
Yeah, I'm curious. Queens or something?
Yeah, which is I'm surprised he didn't format me pre-flop, but yeah, I mean, with the way he's played his hand, he just doesn't have an ace very often, so therefore I think kind of compelled to go for some thin value there. I think checking back's too weak. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with the way that one works out.
Yeah, how much did you bet on the river? Like
It was
180, yeah?
about 180. Yeah, it's around maybe 35% pot, something like that. And I bet that's small because I'm targeting exactly that kind of hand.
Yeah.
And as I've said before, I don't believe people are turning made hands into bluffs often enough against small bet sizes. I do it often, as you've seen already this session. I will turn hands into bluffs versus small bet sizes, but I don't believe enough people are doing it for me to worry about being exploited by making my thin value bets quite small. Sure, I'm sure some people will exploit me now and again, but I don't believe enough people exploit me to make it worthwhile changing that strategy, because I think it works really well. And that just comes about having the confidence to bet fold. Tons of people don't have the confidence to bet fold. They have the confidence to bet, but then they don't fold often enough. Well, I'm really comfortable bet folding, so I'd have no issue making thin value bets. Because I'm more than
Well,
happy
it's
to fold when I get raised.
pretty hard to bet fold in a good way. I've experienced at least
What do you
because
mean
I
by
saw.
that? Can you explain? I'm not really sure what you mean when you're saying that.
Well, I when I watched your previous videos, you were talking about bet folding. I don't know which video it was, but so I tried to do it more often, and well, sometimes it can be hard to put money in a pot and then just like fold when the guy raises. Like if you have a reasonably strong hand and you plan on bet folding because if you get raised more often than not, he's gonna have a better hand. But if you have a strong hand yourself, it can be difficult at times to lay it down.
Yes,
And I
that's more of an emotional thing than a technical fault, though, isn't it?
yeah, that's what I
That's
mean.
just you emotionally finding it difficult. But if you know it's the right play and you tell yourself before you make the bet, I am betting here and I am folding to a raise,
Yeah,
it's
that
not
definitely
that
helps.
difficult. You know, you need to know that you bet folding before you bet. Because if you
Yeah,
bet not knowing whether you're going to fold or call, then it's a tough spot. But if you bet knowing full well you're folding to a raise, it's the easiest thing in the world to do. You
yeah,
know, we're going for thin value. Turns out that our thin value hand is probably second best, so we have an easy fold. But yeah,
yeah. That's something
it's something
some
that you have to keep doing. You have to do it a lot before it becomes second nature. It's certainly not easy to learn, but once you have learned
no.
and mastered it, it's going to really have a huge impact on your win rate. I have no idea what's going on here, but I'm just going to fold because what am I going to do? You know, I mean, if he had more money, I could consider calling, but even then, when I hit my hand, it's going to be four liners. It's going to be like a four liner to it straight. So
Yeah,
I have no idea what he's doing there. He's almost certainly not the best hand though, so congratulations to him.
yeah. He limped in and then he just overbets it.
Yeah, I should probably just raise pre-flop. I wasn't concentrating because typically in those spots, I would raise because he's never going to have a strong hand when he's complete. Well, not never, but rarely going to have a strong hand when he just completes the small blind.
Yeah. Getting great odds.
I'm just going to squeeze. I'm not interested in the odds. I'm just going to squeeze now and try and just well, hopefully just pick the pot up. That's what I'm hopefully going to do. But if I don't, I'm hoping to get heads up with one of these two players rather than this. The purple stat is somebody who's quite laggy. So I think we're going to get a decent amount of folds against him because his range is going to be quite wide. And then these other two, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But it was just your classic. That was just your absolute classic squeeze spot. It was an absolute textbook squeeze spot. And if I'm not going to take those squeeze spots when they're making a video, I'm probably never going to take them. So let's do it. So anyway, not related to the video, but how has your last few days been going? Because last time we spoke, you were downswinging. Are you coming out of that?
Well, I don't know if it was really a downswing. I felt like I was not making the optimal plays a lot. So I reviewed a lot of hands and I posted a lot of hands on the forum, and that actually helped quite good. And about 3 days ago, I started playing better, and now it's actually going pretty well. I think the last few days, my results were a lot better, and I don't want to be like short-term results oriented, but my win rate was just much higher, and I feel like I've been just playing better overall.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's good. It's really good that you can admit that you actually aren't playing well, rather than just blaming like run bad. And again, this is a
yeah, not
situation here where I'm going to do what I've done earlier. I'm going to go for
yeah,
the raise because he's just bet really small twice now. I mean, if he comes over the top, if he, good luck to him. But now I've hit a 9. It's tempting. Now I've got showdown value. I don't need to bluff anymore. Now it's a matter of, can I value bet? That's the
I
question
think
now.
you can.
Um,
Well, actually,
and I
I'm
should have
not
C bet
sure.
there. I've messed up here because I was too busy looking at this hand. That was a clear C bet on this right hand table, by the way. And I just didn't make it, and now I have to fold. But I should have C bet there. I'm kind of thinking I want to shove here. But I'm not sure if that's going to be too thin if he's got a hand like pocket tens or something, which this player can clearly have because he's not that good a player. He's 35-14. He probably doesn't have tens. I'm tempted to just overbet shove for value and just try and get called by like pocket sixes or something like that. So
Yes,
that's so
sevens
that's what we'll
and
do.
eights.
And he's just
Oh,
check
he
what fold.
insta-fold.
We spent all that time discussing it, and he had check fold on. So quite frankly, never mind. I think it's still worth discussing, and that's why I went for this shove because I think he's going to have a lot of like weak pocket pairs there that might just decide to put me on 2 high cards and a bluff and hero call me. And the reason I always went for the shove is because there was 13 in the pot. He only had 17 in his stack. So it's not like I'm ever going to make a reasonable value bet. That isn't a bet full spot. That's kind of like, well, we either bet really small and then have to call it off for the jams, or we just go for the jam ourselves. Because if we make like a $6-7 bet there, we can't really be folding because we're going to get such good odds on the river. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of spot where if I know I'm not going to bet fold, I may as well go for maximum value. This is a spot where I'm just going to see bet once, try and get him to fold some ace highs, and then I will only barrel a turn if I hit a jack, a 7, a king, or a diamond.
All right.
They're my barrel cards. If he raises, it's just going to be the easiest fold ever. Even though he's not going to rep very much when he raises. I just don't think we're going to win the hand very often. We have no fold equity on him, so I would just give up at that point. As you can see, I mean, I know you only play 5 now at the moment, but you have played some 30 now, and there's still plenty of limping in these games, you know what I mean? There's tons of people in our group at the minute, in our little like Skype group, who are all at a similar level to you. Quite a few of them are playing 888. And just look at it, it's just limp as galore. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of just getting your head down, grinding hard, getting the volume in, and just basically building your bankroll and moving up. Because I've said it before, and I'll say it again, there really isn't a huge leap, in my opinion, between 5NL and maybe even
13.
50NL. But definitely not between 30NL. I mean, the regulars are slightly better, of course they are. But in terms
Yeah.
of how many fish there are compared to regulars, I'd say that ratio doesn't alter very much. All it alters is the skill level of the regulars is slightly better, but not by an amount where should be really intimidated.
No,
Here I'm just
that's
going to lead out because I've got a good shot, and he might just fold. Who knows? I can't check call. Wow, he's min-raised.
min raise.
Now it gets kind of interesting because we're not getting direct odds, obviously. We've only got a good shot. But I think we have really big implied odds now he's min-raised. If we think our
Yeah.
good shot, I think we're going to get all his stack. So like we're calling 60 cents to possibly win $12, which is like 20 to 1. So I'm going to call because I think our implied odds are really good. I'm just going to check fold to turn unless he bets tiny.
Min bet.
And that one not. I mean, he's probably just got a really big hand. So
Yeah.
again, it backs up our flop read that if we'd have hit our 9, we would have stacked him. Which is
Yeah,
why
for
I'm not in
sure.
the habit of calling for it to hit cut shots. But if I think I'm going to get full value when I hit against somebody who's made a really small raise, I'm gonna go for it then. But typically, don't be calling good shots getting just 5 to 1. It's clearly not a good play long term. That was very situational way I did that. But I mean, as you can see, we've been playing now for, 25 minutes nearly. And I don't think we've been put in even a closer difficult spot yet. We've probably played maybe 140 hands now, maybe 100 hands. And I can't remember one tough spot we've been put in. It's just not difficult. These games are not difficult if you play sensible poker. Here, I think I'm going to empty the clip. Just go for 3 streets. And I'm going to go small, and I'm going to bomb the river. Because I think I wanted to call twice with hands that you can't call the river with if you will. So if I bet small twice, and then I bomb the river, it's going to get value. Say he's got a hand like pocket 8 or pocket 6 or something. I can get 2 calls from him, and then I can make him fold. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here.
Just get him off pocket pairs.
So I get him pocket pairs, some ace-high flush draws. He's not going to fold pocket 3s, which he's probably got, or whatever it is. But,
maybe pocket 7s even.
I think the plan there was fine. I think it's just turns out he actually had a hand for once. But I do like the small, big line. Because it does work a lot. It encourages people to call with weakish hands. And he's building a bigger pot to bluff people off later. Here I'm going to 3-bet. Just because I think these type of players, these orange tag players, they're going to call with worse a decent amount of the time.
Yeah.
That's why they're tagged orange. Because they're not quite making enough folds that they should be making. They're just basically not playing optimally. They're tighter than a fish. They're not a full-on fish, but they're certainly playing far from optimally. And now I'm just going to hope he's got some kind of hand, and I'm going to bet quite big.
What would you do if he raises the flop here?
There's not a chance.
You're not folding?
No, I'm just going to get it all in, and if he's flopped a set, well, hallelujah. There's no way I'm folding there.
All right.
And I'm not a big one for folding over pairs in 3-bet pots. I think it's too easy to make a mistake if he's got a hand like king, queen, or ace, queen there, he can easily raise it for value and end up bluffing me. I just don't. That's not something I'm a huge fan of doing. It could even be a leak now. I'm not sure. It could definitely be a leak. In single raise pots, I have no issue. In 3-bet pots, if someone's going to flop a set on me, they're usually going to stack me. And
I was just
going to live with it.
I was just going to ask you, if it's a limp pot, then you would consider it.
Yeah, if it's a smaller pot, a single raise pot or a limped pot, then yeah, it's a lot different. But when it's a 3-bet pot and there's already maybe 30 or 40 blinds in there, I'm just not going to fold.
Yeah.
And here I'm going to bomb away because I'm never going to be bluffing here. So if I'm never going to be bluffing, I may as well make my value bet bigger.
Yeah.
But there's no bluffs here. There's not a chance I'm ever going to try and bluff 2 people on a board like that. Whether it's semi-coordinated like that. So therefore I'm just going to go for maximum value. I'm probably going to make this turn bet around $5.10, something like that. Which is going to set me up where I can make a really big river bet. And I might even just overbet shove the river if he calls.
Or if he calls pot is 17.
Now the king's not a great card for us because we're going to get too many folds on it usually. But obviously when we've got a set, we're not too worried about that. If he's got 7-5 here, well, again,
yeah.
he's going to win all of my money because I'm not just calling.
Set over set.
That's always nice. That would have been more interesting there if we'd had a hand like Ace King or something like that. That would have been a much more interesting spot. Because a ton of draws missed, some got there. I'm not sure what I would have done actually with Ace King in that exact same spot because I would have played Ace King the same time until it moved. And that's just another lesson rather for people. Don't just call in those spots on the river because it's just way too likely we've got the best hand and we're just going to miss out. I see tons of people calling in spots like that and just leaving 10, 15, 20 big blinds on the table. I think shoving there is mandatory. And people
if you got a set.
Some more experienced players, they might be thinking, well, of course it is. But I do make these videos aimed at beginner players, losing players. And I see lots of players posting hands where they just call on the river there because they're scared of 3 kings or 7-5 or whatever. Just ship the rest in because more often than not you've got the best hand and you're just going to be leaving lots of money on the table long term if you're not putting the rest of the money in there.
Yeah, you only had $7 behind.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
yeah.
It's 20 big blinds. I mean, it's not an insignificant amount of money, But having said that, we're just so likely to have the best. I wouldn't have shoved there with Ace King. I would have maybe just called with Ace King. But when we've got a set, it's just a shove. Here's a C-bet because we've got 9 high in a draw. Here and just a 3-bet because this guy's a donkey, so we will do. The donkey typically means, like my donkey tag, it means bad aggressive fish usually.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm 3-betting him for pure value. And on top of that, I didn't want this to happen, which was have players behind me come along. I wanted to just like isolate the guy. Now I'm kind of handcuffed now into making a hand.
And now you have to hit the set.
Yeah, because this is exactly what I didn't want to happen, which is why I went for the 3-bet to isolate him in the first place. But it's happened anyway, so now we just check and fold and just allow ourselves to be a little bit irritated.
Not much you can do here.
No, we might even have the best hand, who knows? I mean, it seems unlikely, but we might. Now here's something I'm going to do that a lot of people don't do. And I'm going to choose a bet size which allows him to reopen the betting when he shoves. So I'm just going to raise him 150 more. Hope he shoves.
And then the other guy.
This other guy, then if he calls his shove, the betting's still open again for me to reshove on him, rather than make it too big and then he can see a flop without, if you know what I mean. I try to trap this guy for calling his shove and then maybe being forced to call my shove or being forced to fold to my shove. Typically, there people be like, oh, they're just trying to put this guy in. But it's better to not put him in and then hope he puts himself in. Because he puts this guy in a much tougher spot then. Now I'm just going to check back here. We have 2 overcards and a backdoor draw. But with that stack size, it's too likely he's just going to check shove on me and blow me off what he's likely to be an half decent equity share. So I'm just going to...
If he was like full stack, would you see bet?
I would see bet if he had full stacks, yeah, for sure. And now I'm tempted just to bet. Now he's checked twice. I'm tempted just to bet small and just just pick the pot up. Because he might still have a hand like pocket 3s or pocket 5s or something here. He could also have a draw that would beat him, but I mean, I think the only chance we've got of winning is if he's got a hand like king queen or ace queen. I don't think we're going to win very often, but I also don't think we're going to get many folds. So I think I'm happy just giving up here because I have a tiny amount of showdown value. Not a lot, but we have a little bit of showdown value. Well, we had a lot of showdown value against Queen. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, 8-8 is very solid.
Yeah, focus dead, everybody. Calling squeezes with the Queen 3 off.
Wow, you don't immediately tag him?
If I played 30 now regularly, I would do. But I only make these videos at 30 now because I don't really want to be playing 50 now when I'm trying to commentate. Because I do make mistakes when I'm making videos because I'm talking and what have you. So I prefer just to play 30 now. So if I do make mistakes, they're smaller. They don't cost me as much. But normally I would tag him as a fish for sure. Here, I think I'm going to c-bet. And it's pretty much just to try and make him fold his equity share. If he's got a hand like 10 jack or queen jack here, I'd rather just make him fold it. Because he's got a decent amount of equity against me. And if I check, I'm pretty much forced to check folding, which I don't want to do. So this is it's not a bluff, it's just to make him... I'm not trying to get him to fold a king, for example, or 2 10s or 2 jacks or anything like that. But if he's got a hand like ace 10, jack queen, jack 10, something like that, I'd rather he just folded it than either got the chance to bluff me with it or to take a free card and outdraw me or something like that.
Yeah.
That's something when I'm coaching beginners, I would say, no, we shouldn't really be c-betting there because it's too easy to get stuck into c-betting too often. But for someone like yourself or when I'm making a video, I'm comfortable doing it myself and explaining why I'm doing it. But it's not something that all beginners are going to understand, which is why I wouldn't say it to some of the more novice players that are in our group. But I think with you understand why I'm doing it, so it's fine. I hope you understand why I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, I understand why you're doing it.
And there's our friend Seed Mode.
Yes.
Let's not talk about Seed Mode on the video, though.
No. Maybe he's watching.
Maybe he is. If you are watching Seed Mode, I've got a tip for you. If you want to get in touch with me,
it's going to cost you.
We can discuss it. Yeah, it will cost you, though.
The green was just Not a good player, yeah?
Yeah, green's a fish. Green's like loose passive, so yeah, 57-6. So
Oh. You had me as the green at
I
first.
did at first, but that was 100% a mistake.
Okay.
I'm just going to absolutely bomb against this guy here because there's absolutely loads of hands he can call with, and there's loads of really bad turn cards for me. Any spade, any eight, any jack, any king. There's just I can see half the
Any
deck
10 even.
that I'm going to hit. So so I'm just going to bomb, and I'm just going to hope a two of clubs falls on the turn, and I'm just going to bomb again. These 13 games are insanely soft, by the way. You need to be getting moved up to them as quickly as you can. Well, this is interesting. It's very similar to the spot you were talking to me about earlier. Only this time I've got a call around 4 blinds and we're deep, so obviously I'm not going to fold here.
Yeah.
But interesting, it's the same hand that you had. And I kind of here, I'm only calling. I don't call 3-bets out of position. I almost never ever do. But we're deep here, and he's made it way too small.
Yeah, that's really small.
And I think there's a really good chance, because he's not tagged, I don't know him, I don't recognise him, there's a really good chance he's going to be a bad player that's just making a really bad bet size with a premium hand. So hopefully now...
Let's hope so.
I don't want to get too expensive here. I mean, this is starting to get where I don't like calling, but because I've got the backdoor flush draw as well as the unopen-ended to the nuts, I kind of have to call. But I don't really want him to start bombing $9 on the turn, because I can't really call $9 on the turn, unless I hit a club.
Unless you hit, yeah.
That could be quite a bad card for me, because if he I'm just going to fold if he bombs it, by the way. And when he checks back, man, this is interesting now, because when he checks back, he can never have a really strong value hand. But that's not to say that you can't be pot controlling with Queen X. So, I mean, obviously I can't bet for value, that's for sure. But it's a check. But now it's whether I'm getting the correct odds to call, and I think I'd probably beat here still. When he takes this line, I think he's just been pot controlling the turn a lot.
But I think he has a queen here a lot.
He's done everything really, really quick, which kind of makes you think he hasn't got much, because if he had a real hand, he would probably think more about it. But I just don't know.
I think he's going to have a queen here a lot.
Me too. But I'm getting like, 3-1?
Yeah.
It's only 25. He only needs to be bluffing 25%. If he has ace king or ace jack 25% of the time here, fuck it, it's a video. I think we're going to lose. I think we're going to win enough of the time to make it okay.
I think he has ace queen. I think.
Yeah, you're right. And of course, he's going to have stuff like that a lot. But it's just we need like 25% equity to call. So
yeah, the odd of the price was pretty good.
As soon as I saw the 10 hit, I thought, yeah, that's going to cost me. He did. He just didn't cost me on the street. I thought he was going to cost me on. But that's life. I'm not happy with that river call. Because I think we pretty much said he's pot controlling the queen most of the time. But he can easily have ace king and do something stupidly similar as well. Or ace jack or something like that. So I think he's got enough ace king and ace jack to just about make it okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think he has enough bluffs in his range. Like when he takes his line, I think he has enough bluffs in his range to call there.
Yeah, me too. Only just. So it's close. And there's probably nothing wrong with folding. But there's nothing wrong with if it's close. What close means is it doesn't really matter what you do. Because if it's close, there's going to be similar EV in both. So at least by calling, we get to win the pot sometimes. By we're folding, it's like clearly we can never win, so at least it's where we can win. It's maybe your back-ass logic. It's probably not great logic, but I'm happy enough with it. And now I'm just going to bet twice now.
Why don't you see bet that board?
Just because I think I can't get 3 streets really. So if I can't get 3 streets, if I'm going to have to check a street, I may as well make my range a little bit weaker by checking the flop. And then I might induce some lighter call downs. But if I start betting the flop and the turn, I really can't bet the river very often. I don't particularly want to get check raised by draws on that flop. So I kind of look at my hand and think at best it's a 2 street hand. So I'd rather just get that value on the turn of the river rather than go for it on the flop of the turn.
All right.
Here I've been squeezed by somebody who isn't very aggressive, and this is kind of the things I get flamed for.
I would
Now.
fold. Oh,
Well, I
well,
was going to fold, but now this guy.
now I think you can call. Or are you thinking about like?
I'm not thinking about 4-betting. No, I'm thinking
No,
about
okay.
folding or calling. 4-betting were too deep to 4-bet.
Well, I think the Neo he's gonna get pretty good odds to call as well. Unless he's slow playing a very big hand, but I think he's gonna call as well. Oh.
I just think this guy's going to have pretty much aces, kings, aces. When I see somebody with his stats 25-13 with the orange tag, they're not the sort of player who's 3-betting like. They really aren't. And I kind of wanted to fold there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I understand.
This guy priced me in my opinion. If this guy hadn't have called, without question, I unquestionably would have folded.
Yeah.
But I mean, this guy's clearly just got the nuts.
Yeah,
this guy,
yeah.
And I reckon Neo's probably. I think what's happening here is Neo's got a set, and
yeah,
this guy's
sure.
got an overpair. That's what I think's going on there, and we'll pull the hand up in a minute.
Yeah, I think for sure the Neo. What was his name? Neo.
I
think he's always going to have a set there.
Yeah, he's going to have a set nearly all of the time.
Yeah.
And I think the other guy's going to have an overpair nearly all of the time.
But that's kind of interesting. Would you, if you were the guy with like the aces, if he has aces, would you raise Neo?
In that pot, the pot's too big. There's way too much money in the pot, and Neo only had 100 blinds. So I'm kind of either going to fold or I'm going to raise. I don't think there's much value in calling because, there's that much money. It's going to go on the turn anyway. Neo's not betting to fold there. We know that already. We know he's bet calling. I would either make a decision to just ship it there and then, or fold because Neo clearly has a set. I'd be stunned if Neo doesn't have a set when we finally pick that hand up.
I think.
Yeah,
for sure.
Aces. It was obvious.
Yeah.
It was really obvious. So I'd like to think in this guy's spot that I would have found a fold. But
yeah, I think so too.
Who knows? I mean, I'd like to think I would. But who knows? I haven't always folded in those spots. So yeah, but when he donks that big, Neo, he can only have a set. He really can, and people will go nuts saying, "Oh, he can have straight draws or flush draws and things." But he can't really because Neo's a good regular, so he's not going to call me pre-flop. He's not going to call my under the gun raise pre-flop with a kind of 5-6 type hand, or he's not going to call with like low suited connectors. So therefore, his range of calling and then calling again when somebody squeezes is pretty much going to exclusively be pocket pairs.
Yeah.
And he's not donking anything that's not a set there. Because he's 3-betting me with Queens, Kings pre, for sure, because he's aggressive enough to 3-bet me with like Queens, Kings. So he hasn't got the big pairs. He's not going to donk like Jacks, 10s, 9s. So he just leaves
never.
sets. All it leaves is sets. I mean, that hand was really easy to read. And it genuinely is why I wanted to fold pre-flop. Because I thought there was just a huge chance that the guy that was tagged orange is just going to have aces or kings, because that's why he's tagged orange. There's no point tagging players and developing reads if you're just going to ignore them. The only thing that made me call was the guy in the small blind cold calling.
Yeah, you were
I might just flop an ace, and then if we both got aces and the other guy had kings, then I flop an ace, I'm probably going to stack him and he's going to get out of the way. But no, my first instinct was fold.
Yeah, mine too.
And I do get criticised a lot for my nittiness, but I have no issue. I'll defend that against anybody in the world. That ace king is a fold in that spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, you would just price in. Well,
yeah.
If you're priced in with ace king there, I don't think there's any other option than just calling, hoping to hit ace, and on every other board just fold.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not much we can do there. This is quite disappointing because we had a nice little bit of backdoor equity, but
Couldn't you have
I could spew here and just 3-bet over him, but I just don't think people bluff enough in that spot, so I'm just not going to bother.
No.
I just 3-bet because we had the backdoor flush draw and the backdoor straight draw and the two
Yeah.
overs. We had too much equity, so I'm more than happy to 3-bet in that spot because there's tons of turn cards that can barrel. His race rate, I mean, it's irritating when you get raised, but you also should be quite pleased because it stops you spewing the wrong money off.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's ever bluffing there.
No.
The board is just so dry.
But it seems unlikely. Here, because he hasn't got much of a stack, I'm going to do something. I'm going to c-bet the flop, and then I'm going to check shove the turn because I think that's the best way to get him committed. And he's just folded, so that's that flat out the window. That's that flat out of the window. But I think what people will do a lot there, they will peel with pocket pairs and they'll stab when you check the turn. They'll just put you on 2 high cards. There isn't the king. And they'll auto stab and then they'll get confused and call it off. And that seems like it's a really nice turn card.
This is a bet fold, yeah?
No, I don't think it is. It could be. Who knows?
No?
I mean, he could have. Well, I think I might have just stuck out on him. That's what I think. If he's got a hand like Ace Queen or an Ace King or something like that. But no, I'm not going to bet fold 2 pair in this spot in a 3-bet pot.
He limped in, right?
No, he called and I 3-bet him. So he raised, I 3-bet. That's clearly one of the worst turn cards I could ever see. And if he bets now, if he shoves, it's an easy fold.
Yeah.
Because that is a terrible card for us. I think I'm probably going to lose here, but who knows? We might win. Wow.
Checks. Wow. Probably
he should have absolutely check shoved the turn because I was not folding there. He should have established that I had an ace there. And he should really have shoved the turn. Because when I make that sizing on the turn, I'm not bet folding. He should really be aware of that and just ship it in my face. But there you go. People play badly.
If he raises there, that's a pretty interesting hand, I think. But if he raises there, don't you think you're always behind?
Like what? Maybe, but I mean, I've got 2 pair in a 3-bet pot, so I mean, if I'm behind, I'm behind. I'm just going to have to deal with it. Because I think it's if we just routinely start folding 2 pairs in 3-bet pots when we've put around 50 blinds in, I mean, it's just not something. I do hear what you're saying. We're going to be behind a big amount of the time, but he can
also just too much money in.
Yeah, but what if he's got? Let's have a look at it. What if he's got a hand like Ace King of clubs? Sorry, Ace King, or what if he's got a hand like Ace Queen, or what if he's got a hand like Jack 10 suited? I mean, I think there's too many value hands that you can have that we're beating.
But is he really gonna raise check? Is he gonna check raise the turn on Jack 10 suited?
Well, I would if I was him. If I turn 2 pair in a 3-bet pot, and I think someone's gonna have Ace King a lot of the time. Yeah, I absolutely would. I wouldn't think twice about it. Because so with 2 pairs, it's kind of like you're pretty close to the top of your range when you've got 2 pairs. And I'm just not a big fan of folding the top of my range or close to the top of my range in 3-bet pots. When I've put an awful lot of money in. If I'm going to bet fold the turn, I'd rather just check back and just pop control and call a river bet.
Don't you think that would have been a better option in this spot?
Well, no, because I think you can get value. I think you can get.
Yeah, okay.
I think get plenty of value. So no, I think betting's way better.
All right, that's a spot where I would usually, I think, check behind.
But I have no issue. I make a decision before I make my bet. I'm like, right, I'm bet calling or bet folding, and I'll just stand by it then.
Yeah.
But I have no issue as long as I've thought it out beforehand, and I'm actually following a plan that I've made for the hand rather than just reacting to something. I'm comfortable with it. If I decide it's a bet call, I'll go with it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. As long as I've gone through the thought process that's made me come to that decision, and I'm happy with that thought process. Well, whatever the result's just what it is. I'm not prepared to say, right, I'm going to bet call here, and then have me bottle go when he shoves on me and start thinking all sorts of stuff. I'm just going to go with my initial read, which is he can definitely have worse hands that can shove on me. So
Yeah.
therefore, I'm just going to stick with it and just go with it. He can absolutely have Jack 10 there. He can have 10-8 suited. He can have Jack 8 suited. These are bad players who call with hands they shouldn't call with pre-flop. So there's just I think there's too much of a chance. He can have worse two pairs. He can just have Ace Queen and think, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to raise because I don't know what else to do. People just do things that you can't explain. You can't project your ranges onto bad players. And he might not be a bad player. He might be a good player that I just don't know about. But he was an unknown, so I'm going to presume until I know otherwise that he's not a good player. And I'm going to treat him like not a good player. If he's not a good player, he can absolutely call my 3-bet out of position with all sorts of hands like Jack 10 suited, Jack 9 suited, Jack 8, 10-8. There's loads and loads of 2 pairs he can have. And I'm not prepared to fold my second best 2 pairs in a 3-bet pot when I've gone like C-bet flop, barrel turn. Then yeah, if he's got me cooler, which he will have a lot of the time, well, good luck to him. He's going to have me coolers. He's just going to win the money. I'm not worried about coolers and bad beats. I'm worried about if I play a hand badly. If I think I played a hand fine, if I'm not sure, I will go and review it and I will ask people. I say, what do you think of this? Well, I'd have been really confident that was absolutely fine.
Do you think, by the way, he would have called a river shove?
Oh, he 100% he'd beat me in the pot. He would have absolutely beat me into the pot. Even though if I shoved the river, he beats nothing. Because I'm always going to have aces, kings, or king, queen on the river. I think he would have called for sure. Because he's just got a set. And people don't fold sets very often.
No, that's true.
If we're trying to make people fold sets in these games, we're probably doing quite a lot wrong.
Yeah.
Although if we're ever going to make somebody fold a set, that's probably going to be the board we're going to do it on.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to fold sets.
Yeah, it's really hard to fold sets.
I had a same spot earlier today where I had flopped a set of 10s on a king 10 deuce board, and there were 2 clubs, and the river was a club, and he just bet the river after check calling the flop and check calling the turn. And it's so hard to lay it down, even though he probably has it. It's just really hard. What a jackpot sign.
There are a lot of jackpots going. Here I'm just going to barrel off against this guy because I think he can be donking. Well, 6-5 was going to say was one of the hands. I think he can be donking 7x, 10x.
This was the guy who called with 3s, by the way. Yeah, in the 9 deuce board.
I didn't notice that, but in my opinion now that gives me all the more incentive to triple barrel.
Yeah, of course. That was the guy who called the flop and the turn with the 3s.
And this is why we need to be firing the 3 barrels against these type of players. You'll hear people say all the time, we can't bluff fish. We can bluff fish. We just need to know why we're doing it and like what their ranges for calling 2 streets are and not 3 streets. And if he wants to call us down with really weak hands, the first time he calls my triple barrel with a 7 there, he will never ever see me triple barrel him again. But what I will do, I will frequently triple barrel him for value, for thin value too. He'll never see me bluff again. He'll catch me bluffing once, and that's it. He'll never ever catch me bluffing the second time. Because I just know that he just doesn't fold pocket, he just doesn't fold pairs post flop, and I'll just tell me never to bluff him again. And I just own him with value bets going forward.
That guy limps a lot, and now he raises.
He doesn't limp a lot. He does raise 13%. He just probably, I imagine, he probably calls raises too much. I would imagine he limps very often, but I would imagine he probably calls too many raises.
Well, in this session, he's been limping quite a lot, actually.
I'm going to see bet here just because I've got a backdoor flush draw, 2 overcards. And I will only barrel a turn if it comes a spade or like a jack, queen, or king. Jack, queen, king, or ace, sorry. I wouldn't barrel, there's lots of cards I wouldn't barrel there. Here I'm going to go for a squeeze, and I will call it off against
Shocker.
Against this guy. and I'll expect not to be in great shape. But I'm just not having people's 78% raises under the gun. I'm just not having it. I think people tend to raise bigger. Oh wow. I think this is really close to a call.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think you can have lots of 10-9s. I mean, you can have, obviously you can have lots of pairs too. But I think it's really close to a call here because, yeah, his value hands, we're going to have 25% equity, even if he's got a hand like pocket sixes or pocket nines.
Well, if he has
We're still going to have 25%, and I think we can just be ahead. So
if he has sixes, you also have the 8 as an out.
Wow, there are a lot of jackpots coming.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine. We sucked out too, which is always nice. But,
yeah, but I think
I don't think that calls at all spewy, because I think he's going to have enough draws, enough just complete air balls. They were getting close to direct odds just to suck out on him there against an 8. We were getting, we were getting like 2.7, 2.8 to 1. We only need about 3.2 to 1 to call there anyway. And that's against his, all his pocket bets. If he's got a 7, we're not getting the right odds, but I don't think he'd do that with the 7. So against all these, 8x and other pocket pairs, we're almost getting direct odds to suck out. And the fact that he can just have some air and draws, I think that's a pretty... It's not an easy call to make, because who likes calling nearly 50 blinds off with ace high? But I think it's as close to trivial as it's going to get when it comes to making ace high calls.
Yeah, I think, I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't know. I probably would have called as well. Because, as you said, he has some draws, he has some under pairs as well, even.
Yeah. I mean, what we can do is we'll stop the video now. We won't stop the video now, but we'll just do that in PokerStove just for our own amusement. We'll try and put him on a range and we'll see
how much equity
where we're at with it. So where's my PokerStove at? It's going to be... I know all you cool kids use Flopzilla and God knows what else these days, but I'm an old-fashioned sort of guy and I like my PokerStove. I know what I'm doing with PokerStove, so that's what I'm going to use. Yeah,
I have PokerStove as well.
There's lots of illegally downloaded stuff in here too, so let's not be paying too much attention to my copyright theft of music and other things. We'll close that as quickly as we can. Sorry, Frank Sinatra's executors, but I stole some of his music off the internet.
PokerStove.
I'm sure they need the money less than I do, though, so it's all good.
Yeah.
So let's try and get it in the screen as best we can. It's there in the screen now. So we had... It doesn't really matter, we just had ace jack off suit. There's no flush draw on the board, was there? So that's fine for us. And let's give him a range of pocket sixes, pocket fives, pocket nines, pocket tens.
Well, to be honest, I don't think he's gonna have tens or nines there.
Do you not?
No, because I think if he calls a raise from under the gun and then you squeeze, I think tens and nines are gonna shove.
That's a fair point. So I'll tell you what, then I'll split the difference. We'll just put one. We'll put
nines maybe, but tens he's gonna shove.
We'll take tens out and we'll put nines in.
All right.
So and then let's just obviously we'll put say ace 8 suited in there because he turned up with an ace 8 with a king 8, and then we'll put king 8 suited in there because that's actually what he had. So we've got some sort of representation of his 8x type hands.
Maybe 9-8.
So we'll put 9-8 in there. I don't want to put too many 8s in there because I think we might be over-epping his range. We'll put 9-8 suited in there too. And then we'll just put some random bluffs like a 10-9 that you could have. And we'll put a 6-5 in there too. Even though I don't think he's going to have 6-5 very often, we'll just put one combo 6-5 suited in. And that's just to represent some of his bluffs that have got equity. So that's probably quite a narrow range against him there.
Yeah, that's very narrow because I think he's going to do the same with 4s, 3s, and deuces as well.
You think
he's
so?
Just like, yeah, for sure. I just think like he's going to shove there if there are no high cards. He's going to shove any pair there.
Right, so there we go. So we'll put that range in then. And we were getting, what were we getting? Let's pull the hand up so we can figure out exactly what odds we were getting.
877.
He shoves 10 on the flop into 8. So we've got to call 10 into 18. So we're getting 1.8 to 1.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to 2 to 1. 1.8 to 1. I've got a little chart here that will tell me exactly how much equity you need. Getting 1.8 to 1. Where are we at? So we need 35% equity to call. To make the call okay. So let's pull PokerStove back up.
So that's break even, right?
Yeah, 35% is break even. I think we're going to have more than 35%. And the board, sorry, what was it? It was
877.
877 Rainbow, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
So we've got exactly that amount of equity. And that's with putting almost no bluffs in his range. There's not in that range we put there, we're only ahead of the 6-5 and the 10-9. So I think that demonstrates that it was a fine call. It wasn't a great call. It wasn't something I'm like super excited to do, but I think it demonstrates that calling is better than folding because we've got almost no bluffs in his range there.
I think
the range. Put a couple more bluffs in. We've got a trivial call.
I think the range we have here is just still very, very. How do I say that?
It's on the narrow side.
Yeah, I think it's very narrow. I think he's going to shove so much more there.
Yes, me too. But if we do it that way, if we demonstrate that even though we've put quite a narrow range in place, we still have a call, it actually demonstrates that why it was a call that we need to make.
Yeah, it's for sure.
So I'm glad we've cleared that up, and it's probably a nice way to end the video. So thank you very much, sir. I've appreciated you joining me, and it's been an hour, which is a nice length. And we'll probably do something else in the future because it's been fun and I've enjoyed it. So cheers, Maurice.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome, buddy.